The Sweet 16 is set after a wild first weekend of March Madness. 11 different conferences represented here, the Big East and the SEC leading the way with 3 teams each. And there will not be a back-to-back champion after the surging Razorbacks upset #1 seed Kansas. Grace Remington here with 24/7 Sports college basketball staff writer Isaac Trotter. So Isaac, we'll start right there with Arkansas, who entered the weekend having lost 4 of its last 5 games and ended the weekend with Eric Musselman swinging that shirt over his head in front of the fans again. UConn is up next for the Hogs. What's working so well for them right now?
Arkansas is just peaking at the right time. This is a team that's always had talent, but it just never really came together. It was frustrating at the end of the regular season, frustrating in the SEC tournament. They just flipped the script, and it started against Illinois. They played one of their best games of the season against Illinois, and then they were fantastic down the stretch against Kansas. And I think Devo Davis is a guy that really sums up the entire Arkansas experience this year. He nearly left the team for maybe the rest of the year early in the season. He chose to come back after a 1-game absence, and he stuck it out, and then he gets rewarded with one of the best games of his life. He really willed that comeback for Arkansas in the second half. And another one to note, too, 5-star Nick Smith Jr., #1 player in the class of 2022. He got benched in the second half against Kansas, but you couldn't tell from his body language on the bench. He was phenomenal. He was extremely excited for his teammates, clapping, hyping them up, and that just shows like how connected this Arkansas team is. And that was a question for them early. It isn't a question anymore, and teams are going to be really, really scary to face in the NCAA tournament. Nobody wants to face them just with how aggressive their defense is and how high the ceiling of this roster really can be. And then for Kansas on the other side, it's just one of those situations where you just wonder if this team would have found a way to win the game if Bill Self was on the sideline. And that's not a disrespect to Norm Roberts, who was acting as the head coach, but Bill Self is the best college basketball coach in the country, one of the elite X's and O's coach. Kansas is phenomenal after timeouts, getting buckets. And they didn't have him. And this is a type of Kansas team that all season long, it felt like in late games, it was over. They just found a way to win that game. And against Arkansas, they just found a way to let it go. And it was really weird because Kansas just hasn't done that all season long.
Well, the upsets are why we love March, and Fairleigh Dickinson was the darling of the weekend, knocking off 1 seed Purdue in the first round. Just the second time in tournament history that a 16 seed has upset a 1 seed, but it's a familiar feeling for Purdue. For the 3rd straight tournament, the Boilermakers have lost to a team seeded 13 or worse. So what's next for the Boilers?
Yeah, it's a tough spot. Purdue has done a lot of good things this year, and Matt Painter's one of the best coaches in college basketball. He got more out of this roster than I thought anybody was really capable of, and yet you still feel awful at the end of the season. And they win a Big Ten title, they win a Big Ten tournament title, and you still feel awful. And it's just an all too familiar feeling. I remember last year in that press conference after Purdue lost in the Sweet 16 to St. Peter's, it felt like Matt Painter was as dejected as I've ever seen him. He's a beacon of optimism, and he was so dejected talking about, hey, we do things the right way. These things just keep happening in the NCAA tournament. It's just these cruel, cruel outcomes. So give a lot of credit to Fairleigh Dickinson. They were fantastic. The game plan was terrific. Tobin Anderson is going to be a rising star in the coaching industry. But you feel for Purdue. This is a Purdue team that had a chance to do some special things this year, and ultimately their freshman guards let them down. And it's just tough. It's tough because Matt Painter deserves better than this. I think Zach Edey deserves better than this. And at the end of the day, Purdue's going to be left wondering how it all went so wrong so quickly.
Well, I think if anyone can help the players through that type of a loss, it'll be Matt Painter. But those Jersey boys, they came to play this weekend because 15 seed Princeton is still in it, the lowest seed left in the field, and the Tigers reaching the Sweet 16 for the first time in school history after statistically dominating Mizzou in every place it matters. What are the Tigers doing so well?
Princeton just knows who it is. They just know their identity. And we talk a lot about 15 seeds. Oh, they'll beat a 2 seed. And it's like, oh, that was kind of fluky. Oh, maybe they made like 15 threes and just kind of a 1 game out of, just something that was random. And I don't think there's anything random about Princeton. I thought they got to their spots at will against Missouri. I thought they punked them on the boards. They were the better team for 40 minutes, and Missouri couldn't really do anything to stop them. And obviously, this is a Princeton team that now faces Creighton in the Sweet 16. That's going to be a really tough matchup. Both of those teams are really well coached and really well schooled, but Princeton has every opportunity to make a really interesting run. And then for Missouri, on the other hand, you feel bad because you just don't want to end a season like this, losing to a 15 seed in the second round. But overall, this has to be considered a big, big win for Dennis Gates. This year one was a situation where you weren't sure if Missouri was going to make the NCAA tournament. They had a chance to maybe be relevant in an SEC, the middle of the SEC that was kind of down, and they did that. They really outperformed all preseason expectations. So it's still a really good first year for Dennis Gates. I think you have to feel really excited about the future, even though it might have ended really, really poorly.
All right, moment of truth for Rick Barnes, although I feel like we say that every year. He's 27-26 in the tournament, 3-4 in the Sweet 16. And if people didn't know about his team's physical identity, well, they do now. Tennessee literally bloodying up Duke players in that upset win. What can we expect to see from the Vols against FAU?
More of the same. That's what they do. They've done it all season long, and I would not expect anything different in the Sweet 16. The thing I love about this Tennessee team is their seniors die hard. Olivia Kamwa has had an up and down season. He's been better. This is his biggest role of his career, but he saved his best for last. That was the best game of his life, and it came just when Tennessee needed it. Santiago Vescovi has had an interesting career where he's had to defer for other places. He could have easily been a 20 points a game guy, and he was phenomenal in the 2 wins for Tennessee this week. And Josiah Jordan-James, another guy who has really put the time in. And to see these seniors rewarded with a big Sweet 16 berth is so huge. And the path is wide open for Tennessee to make some serious noise. I think Florida Atlantic is a really good team, but Tennessee is going to be the most athletic team that FAU will have faced this year. I think Tennessee is going to really try to do more of the same and bludgeon them to death a little bit. And then you look at the other side, Marquette is also out, the number 2 seed. So you have a chance for Tennessee to make an improbable path to the Final Four, and nobody would have picked that after Zakai Ziegler went down with a season-ending injury.
UConn into the Sweet 16 for the first time in 9 years. And the difference maker for the Huskies this weekend, Adama Sanogo, totaling 52 points and 21 rebounds on 70% field goal shooting, one of the best opening weekends in tournament history. How seriously should we consider UConn as a title contender? Do you think we all kind of let them slip under the radar here?
Yeah, they can win it all. They absolutely can. And Adama Sanogo is a big reason why. I think the thing I love the most about him is his selflessness. He came into the season, preseason Big East Player of the Year, but toward the middle of the season, UConn's best player was actually Jordan Hawkins, and Sanogo didn't whine or complain about it. He was like, hey, just get me the ball in my spots, and if Hawkins is our number 1 go-to guy, that's fine with me. And everything has worked for UConn flawlessly still to this point. So this is a team that Ken Pom has loved since late November. We've seen their peak, but they have a different gear that other teams can get to. And after the Rick Pitino era at Iona, which might be ending soon, but Rick Pitino in one of his last press conferences as Iona's head coach was saying, hey, this UConn team can absolutely win it all. They have all the pieces. And I would trust Rick Pitino's word on it. He kind of knows a little bit about winning in March. And this is a UConn team that you might have a little bit of questions about their point guard play, but everywhere else, they are so deep. It feels like they have 2 of everything, 2 big men, 2 elite shooters, 2 elite wing defenders, 2 multiple options as point guards. So it's nice to have all those options, and Dan Hurley is making a run that he really, really needed after a couple years of early exit.
All right, well, we got more madness on the way. Thank you, Isaac. And for more college hoops news, please like this video and subscribe to the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel.